So we're going to talk a little bit today about arrays. Just want to review arrays and some of the subtle points of using arrays right before the AP exam. So I'm going to start by reminding you of a small class that we had written, I think, the last time we were together, which was this fish class. And the fish class has two attributes, the name and the weight. The name is a string and the weight is a decimal number. We have a full-featured constructor for fish. We have a couple of getters for the fish class, and we have a toString. I also created this static utility method that allows us to print an array of fish. And this is something I think you don't have to worry about for your AP test, but after the APs are over, we'll learn how to sort the fish. I don't know if I covered this year or not. I don't remember. Anyway, so we have this relatively simple class. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a separate class called fish tester, and we're going to put the main method in there. Okay, and what we're going to do here is I'm going to create an array of fish, and then we're going to talk about some of the dangers of working with arrays of objects and how we can get around those dangers, etc. And so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an array of 5 fish. So I'll go fish array. I'll call it a school, since when you have a bunch of fish that are together, that's often called a school of fish. And I'll say new fish, and I'll put together 5 of these. Now, the first thing you have to understand here is that I have created something. Have I created any actual fish? Mr. Sneed, sir, can you tell me, have I created any fish? The only way to create fish is to call a fish constructor. And here there's only one fish constructor. It looks like this. So you need to have a call to the fish constructor with a string and a decimal number. And you can see I haven't done that here. And so I haven't created any fish. Can someone tell me, what have I created here? Okay, so I've created 5 empty slots or fish pointers to fish. They all happen to be null. I'm going to prove to you that they're all null because I'm going to print them. So here's a simple for loop I put together to go through each of the fish and print them. And my next question to you is this going to generate a runtime error because the fish are null? Miss Ariam, what do you think? Am I going to get a runtime error when I run this? No, I will not. So let's run it. And you can see that when I print a null object, it just knows how to print itself. So it just comes out null. Now, if I was going to change this just slightly, and if I was to go like this, is it still going to print the nulls? What do you think? Mr. Sawyer, what do you think, sir? It's going to be a runtime error because I'm asking this null object to do something, and you can't call a method on a null object. That's the first subtlety that I want to discuss with you. You can see here that I'm going to get a null pointer exception. Okay, that's a little hard to see here. There you go. There's the null pointer exception. And you can actually click on here to see which line generated it. So that's this line right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put in a couple of real fish. So I'll go fish A equals new fish. Maybe Dory's a little bit bigger than Nemo. And then what I'll do here, oops, the fish turned into a dish. Probably got cooked. Anyway, school sub 0, we'll put Nemo into school sub 0, and we'll put Dory into school sub 4. That'll be the last slot. So what I have right now is I have the 5 fish pointers. The first one and the last one actually have fish in them, and the middle 3 are still null. You see that, right? Now, if I run this now, I'm still going to get a runtime error when I get to the null object. You can see Nemo printed, but then the next fish was null, and I tried to ask it its name and didn't like that, so it got this here. So what I want to know is, how can I skip over the fish that are null and only print the ones that have actual fish in them? Please modify this loop now. Okay, Mr. Mason, sir, how can I prevent this runtime error by checking to make sure there's an actual fish there before I try to ask it its name? There you go. So there's like a simple guard here. This is called a null guard. And now you can see I'll print the first fish and the last fish. I'll skip the ones that are null. And you can see it printed the two of them and skipped the other ones. Let's say that I wanted to be more complicated about which fish I want to print. I want to print the light fish, the fish that don't weigh too much. So I say if school sub I dot get weight is less than 1.0 and there is a fish there. If I run this, am I going to be okay here? Look, I'm checking to see if it's a null, and I'm also making sure that it's a not too heavy fish. Mr. Borden, do you have an opinion, sir? He says I'm going to get an error. Let's see. I got myself an error here. I want you to discuss with your partner, what did I do wrong and how do I fix it? Okay, Miss Alana, can you tell us what Mr. Sarkar did wrong here and how to fix it? So the null guard has to be on this side. So the Java runtime engine is smart. It knows there's an AND operation here. And so if it gets to this part and it comes back false, it knows not to evaluate this part here, which is useful. And so it'll break out early. That's called a short circuit, by the way. And so it'll short circuit this operation and skip it. And so that's what you want. So the null guard has to be on the left. Now, if I run this puppy, you can see once again it's back to working. So now what I would like you to do before we leave this topic is I would like you to use a for each loop to accomplish the same task, to print only the fish that are actually there and weigh less than a pound. Mr. Manet, sir, can you help me write this as a for each loop? What do I do, sir? Very good, sir. So when I get to the colon, I say the English word in, and then what do I do, sir? You help me put the null guard in, sir. Okay, so that's how we would do it if it was a for each loop. Let's run this. The fish has a toString. I wanted to demonstrate here that if you have a method call, you need a null guard. So if I use the toString, actually, this would also create the same error, but I didn't have this originally. That's why I put this method call in there to create the error if it was a null. Okay, so that is my tiny little review for you on arrays.